Welcome to the Product Leaders Edge podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to highlight the Inside Solo Star newsletter on Substack. This is where you can get a written viewpoint of today's episode, as well as just a insider's look on my journey as a founder. So that's Solo Star, SOLOSTAR by kjg.substack.com. So that's SOLOSTAR by kjg.substack.com. Please subscribe today so that you will be notified first of all new episodes, and you'll also get a written view of the major points that were shared in each episode. Awesome. Let's jump into the episode now. Welcome back to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. I'm KJ, your host, a product leader, entrepreneur, and lover of all things technology. And today we have a special guest in the building. He is a creative and analytical powerhouse. His name is Andre Ray. He is one of my grad school classmates and the host of the National Champion Radio, co-founder of Paris Films, and a data scientist who specializes in bridging entertainment, storytelling, and innovation all under one house. So, Andre, I want to allow you to introduce yourself to the people.
KJ, brother, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be on your podcast, man. This is the first time one of the few times I'm on the other side of the equation. So I like being on this side, and I think you did it well. I'm a filmmaker. I think a writer primarily, and then that sort of just built up into being a director and a producer, and eventually having a independent studio, Paris Films. So we have multiple film productions under that umbrella. So it's the weird like indie studio head, small business owner, right? And so then that also lended itself to National Champion Radio, where I interview U.S. citizens who've won the world's most prestigious prizes. And so that was really, whether they're Olympic gold medalists or, a Turing Award, Fields Medal, Nobel Prize winner, I want to try to get them on and create like a network and a place where different forms of American excellence can be seen and also collaborate. And I think lastly, like you mentioned, we met in grad school, Go Blue. I think we're playing right now. Are we playing right now? I think Michigan's on. It's Saturday that we're recording, and I think we might be playing right now. I'll check. And so Go Blue, I did big data analytics at the University of Michigan, and also focused on precision health while I was there doing data. And so that's a bit of my full spectrum background.
That is awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction. And I just want to ask just an opening question. What inspired you? Like, what led you to the creative space first? And also, how did you get interested in technology as well to do a technical degree at the University of Michigan?
Creative was starting from writing. And so I started writing when I was in grade school. They would have like journaling, and somebody could come up and speak to the class. And I was never really shy about that. So it was always pretty natural. And I really enjoyed watching Saturday cartoons. And then creatively, also, my father got me into film. Every weekend we go to his place. It was always Blockbuster, watching movies. And so we were a big movie so he's a big movie guy. And so that was big. And then later I started writing my first feature when I was like 13. And so always, on the creative side of things. And that was always a big part of me. And that just grew as I got older. And as far as technologically, there was a few different things that came to a head. We had the biggest, we had COVID, which was just a huge whirlwind. And I was in Hollywood at the time of COVID. And I was, in independent film studio, not quite in the industry in the traditional sense, right? It wasn't like I was at some entry level thing for Paramount or something like this, right? We were doing our indie thing. We just shot a cooking show, game show that we were pitching, right? So like we were really trying to get it that way. And that was a tough place for us to find ourselves when COVID struck. And so I was looking at other things that I could do. And I happened to have been writing a feature film that was actually optioned, and I was going around town. Like, this was my thing. I was going to be the Jordan Peele. I was going to direct this $3 million feature. This was my big break. Finally, I got my break. We went to Sundance.
Finally.
We connected with this group. We had a little bidding war. We had a couple companies who wanted to do this film with us. It was called I Trust. It was about a group of, let's call it college students or high schoolers who follow their hacked GPS into the hands of a tech-savvy psychopath. And so that was I Trust. So it was a horror film basically about kids who follow their GPS a little too closely, don't look what's happening, and they're being rerouted the entire time by a serial killer who's had their eye on them for a long time for who knows why. And so it was a psychological thriller slasher. Anyway, I was going out with that, and that got very technological, like very like into, and this is like 2020, 2019. And that really got me deeper into the tech side of things as well, just mentally and through my research. And I would, one thing we would get from pushback was like, this isn't realistic. Like, he could do this, this, and this. Is that possible? And I'm like, trust me, it's possible and it's coming. And so then, sort of the Hollywood went like this, and, AI was going like this, and this is 2019. And so I saw the writing on the wall, and I was like, yeah, I got to figure out my way back into something more technical. I lost all those technical skills really, and I just wanted to get that back in my brain in any way. But also, COVID was like more of an opportune time to think about a change in life, right? A lot of people pivoted during COVID, and I was one of them. I ended up pivoting back into film, but that's what led me to the School of Information at Michigan for a graduate degree.
Awesome. Lots of adventures here, especially with the pandemic, coming out of Hollywood, going to Michigan, and I guess like jump into 2025, what you're doing today. What inspired you to launch the National Champion Radio? What was the inspiration there?
It's something that I've been, in the back of my mind for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, Jordan Peterson says, go after the highest possible good you can possibly imagine, and that'll be the adventure of your life. That's like one of his like core tenets. And that was something I really hadn't thought about in that way about, I'm a creative. So of course that's probably naturally in the background when you're being silly and following your creative, like, dreams. But that really concretized it, I think. And so that was the origin of like the to go into it. And I just thought it could be a really big good. And I thought that a lot of what I saw with connecting culture to, like Gen Z and TikTok culture and, everything that we were sort of been given with cell phones and like distraction and learning loss that you see, it felt like people didn't care as much about being a Pulitzer Prize winner. That was like a thing at some point in the American, like psyche.
Yeah.
The young people would grow up and want to be something like that. And me personally, that's another reason I got into film, not just to got into film, but wanted to do great films because I saw the Oscars and I would practice my speech about winning Best Original Screenplay, right? I would like, this is what, you asked me what I was going to do when I was 19. I'll tell you, I'm going to win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And that's what I'm working on. And so that award show really inspired me. And so that award show inspired me growing up. And I felt like we were losing something in our culture by letting these prizes and what they meant slip to the wayside and just become nothing. I mean, you see the views on those kinds of YouTube pages or Twitter pages from those institutions, they're negligent. It's like people aren't paying attention anymore. We're more interested in people who are famous for being famous. People, into addictive doom scrolling, right? Into pornography, into these things that I just thought that we would lose our footing as a nation and that this was something that could potentially just help at least put our eyes and have one place where you could look and say, oh, there's a Grammy Award winner next to a Nobel Prize winner. And I can kind of just, even if I'm just casually consuming that, it's innately part of my psyche a little bit more. And my morals don't completely decay to where I'm like, well, why is anything bad? Or why is this, why is this something I should strive for? Why should I be an astronaut? Why should I want to do great math? Why should I want to even be an actress, right? Even acting in film was used to be for fame and fortune. Now it's like I need to be an influencer, right? And so I saw that sort of cultural moment, and I thought that this would be a place. The original idea was an award show. So, bringing them all together and really inspiring people with one big award show every year to say, wow. And then that sort of business-wise led to the podcast being a great way to, actually get that into the world as an endeavor. before potentially going back to like the Hollywood types and pitching like a huge award show.
Yeah, more of like getting your footing. And but you brought up an interesting point that just the change in what people want to do and aspire to do has shifted in our society. And it may be social media, it may be we have life a lot easier than a lot of these Olympians who kind of came up in decades past. We just kind of have it all. Like you can build anything on ChatGPT and in AI these days. But with interviewing these individuals, Olympians, researchers, the top individuals in their fields across the world, what is one common thread that you've seen with these individuals that's not really seen today in the, let's be honest, in the work ethic of individuals coming up who may not aspire to be this great?
Yeah. I think one thing oddly is just humility, you know. So many of these people live in obscurity and don't care about coming out of it. You know, I mean, especially some of the older people. Obviously, the Olympians are younger, but these people aren't really wanting to come out into the light that much. They're very much shy and very much just focused on their work and like laser focused for so long. And I don't think in the world of instant gratification, people could tolerate knowing that that they were living in obscurity, with Instagram being a relevant, metric for your follower count, being something that's a metric for your success in life. It's a tough thing to not say, let's go after that. And so I think humility is a big thing, and they just come up from a different world. And so laser focused, and then humility, and then mastery. I mean, mastery is just such a huge part of it all too. Like these people just work and they become really great. And there's levels to this shit. Can I say that on there?
Yeah, you can. You can.
There's levels, man. There are levels. It's like, can you play basketball well? Well, like I'm a good rec player, but I'm not D1. Well, you're D1, but you're not, playing in a foreign league. Well, you're in a foreign league. You're not the NBA, right? And so it's like when you really get into, it's like there's mathematicians. No offense to, my teachers who really are amazing, who raised, high school teachers, whatever. But there's just levels, and these people have really just set back, and they didn't do it for the fame or the glory, because there is none really in it, and that's the thing that really strikes me about them is the humility.
I agree, because in a world of instant gratification, how can you be humble when you see other individuals achieving success? It may be microwave success or not, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of individuals would really try to tie that success to money or some sort of external factor, but it all comes back to the internal, the innate skills and traits that's inside of an individual. What's one conversation from the show that left a lasting impact on you? And I know you've talked to many, many great individuals, but is there one thing, that was said that left an impact on you?
Man, I don't know where to go on that. They all left really big impacts on me. They're really great people. And I think too, I can say another reason I did the podcast was like, that would be a dream job. Like I made it seem all altruistic. It wasn't. Like I was also like, that'd be so cool to interview you. Like if somebody hired me to do that, it's like, cause I'm really like, I'm a nerd in a sense, and I like to be in different topics, and I just love, okay, now I get to study a little bit of astrophysics just for a bit to prep for this interview. Now I just dove into math in order to prep for that. And my job is to try to make it, to explain why math is useful for humanity and why we can't lose that institution and that pillar, and why, being an Olympian or, that pushing your body to the limits and achieving greatness overall, but also the value of the different domains. And so anyway, like, it's also like, for me, like, I just get to interview these people. I get to, stay studied up a little and like, dabble and be eclectic in my studies. And that was exciting too, because like, honestly, it's like, another reason I went back to university is because it was really good to me. And I'm a thirst for knowledge. And so,
Right.
Being a lifelong learner and having a podcast like that allows you to do that. And so I can't really pinpoint one thing. I mean, that's just tough. I just talked to two MacArthur Prize winners. This is a $800,000 genius grant. These people get $800,000 to do whatever they want. They could go on a beach and just buy a boat. They could, right? But they typically don't. They typically do good things with it. And so they get 125 a year. It's over 5 years. And so, I mean, 20 something people get this award, and talking to them, it was just, I think, striking how the mathematician, I just talked to her like a few days ago, and this is Lauren K. Williams. And she mentioned how she needs to advocate for math way more because now under this administration, she's realizing that the public doesn't even know. And she thought she could just get away with making her equations in the dark and just being a little quiet mathematician and not advocating for math at the highest level. She's a Harvard, professor. And I think that's a recent thing that was striking, to see the need from them to understand that they need to advocate and have the language for the value of their own field inside the human, institution or the human organization, inside of a nation, inside of right? Like, you don't want to be a country that doesn't have great mathematicians. There's a lot of limitations that you end up, putting on yourself. And so whether it be mathematicians or other sciences or, just freedom with Olympians, et cetera, I think that was pretty striking recently, just to hear her talk about her need to step up and actually advocate for her field.
Wow. No, that's good. That's good. And it's really not something that we think about often or continue to ponder on. How, like, what is the benefit of math in our society? Nobody's thinking about that. But we need to. We need to. We absolutely need to. And
you don't want to fall into a bunch of ignorance, man. You play around with education at your own peril. Like, do you want to be surrounded by ignorant people who have no sense of common decency or common sense? Or, I mean, that gets dangerous, so
it does. And you mentioned being able to do this as a job, man. And I was like, we're manifesting an iHeartRadio deal where you could be an iHeartRadio. Because it would definitely add a different flavor to that platform or whatever other, platform. We're not limiting here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay.
I mean, they say you have to do 100 episodes before you can quit. And so I knew that going in, and I'm like, man, I'm a year in and I'm not at 20, And so I haven't ever been able to do it full time. But yeah, man, it's a long road to iHeart.
Yep. So would love to talk more about your creative work and, your work at Paris Films, and would love to just hear about the creative mission at Paris Films. And, running a film company, any company, requires leadership, coordination, and just like clarity. And what's one project that taught you that the most? So two-part question: your mission, and what's like one project that helped you craft skills in leadership and coordination?
Our original mission was to create unique, exquisite, and meaningful films. That was that was our thing. And we were making like Oscar bait style, great thriller. We just wanted like great projects. And over time, we essentially slipped into this Tubi niche that was a vertical, and it became very much like a business oriented. It sort of lost its desire to be. Now, we tried to, we wanted to sprinkle that greatness onto those things, right? I always thought, if you're a great filmmaker, then you can make something that's great, but also popular, And so I think that was like part of what we try to do now, where it's like we fit a mandate, and it's very much a business, to what our distributors want, what our partners at Tubi or Lifetime, or what we think the audience really wants, right? Even if they don't know what the audience wants, we often have to go direct to audience through these platforms and live with the results of our views. So these people want. So right now our mandate is thrillers, indie thrillers, like a lot of fun films, and like let me think, stalker films. Those kind of like obsession thrillers are really big right now. And so we went from like wide-eyed, and we were going around Hollywood for years pitching like huge projects in the teens and big TV shows that would, be Oscar and Emmy winning. And in the last 5 years, since COVID, or 4 years, we really pivoted towards this value prop where we can make films in 6 to 10 days, which is just really unheard of in the greater Hollywood industry. Making a full feature film in 6 to 10 days of production is really wild, and it takes a lot. And so one project that comes to mind is the Mail Lady franchise. We shot part 2 and 3 of The Mail Lady together, actually. 2 just came out. Check it out on Tubi and Amazon, The Mail Lady.
Yep.
And then part 3, we shot them overlapping. We had about 2-3 weeks of prep, which is egregious. We shot it in the winter in February in Michigan, in Detroit. So February into March. We had days that were in the teens.
Who?
We had outdoor shoots where we were happy to get in the 30s, right? Our full cast and crew, you know, people coming from LA who, especially our actresses coming from LA, they're not used to this. 20 days for the whole thing. So we're talking about 2 movies in 20 days, overlapping. It's one thing to shoot one movie in 10 days, and it seems like, oh, it's just the same thing. It's like so much more to shoot 2 in 20. And so that was this past February and March. And that was a challenging project. It's like we all ran a marathon together. It was tough. And so it took a lot of leadership. It took a lot of preparation and coordination. And I mean, you got attitudes and energies, and it's not like a corporate, you know what I mean? Like there's no HR kind of, because they're actors and we have to let actors be free to a degree because they need to bring authenticity to the moment, you know? And so, and without a lot of prep, there was holes in direction. Where do we go? Which way? What's best? Competing with my other department heads for, and then resources fall. We barely got any money. And so that was a really challenging and fun, but, grueling, but overall rewarding time shooting The Mail Lady 2 and 3.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Recording in Michigan in February, Godspeed. That's grueling.
We were stupid. That was just dumb. We should have waited.
No. Talk to me about the time frame, because you mentioned a lot of being able to do this in a shorter amount of time. So what helped to accelerate that process?
We have to write projects based on that from the beginning, and so there's a whole it's a whole skill set really, and we've been doing that since our short films. And so one of my shorts ended up getting me to Sundance, and that's really where we kicked off. And short film, so it's really about actors. How many actors you have, how many locations you have, how many special effects you have, and how do you reduce that and still tell a great story, And so that's really the key. How do you, what sacrifices in quality do you make? One thing we're going to take is set dressing. Like, it's just going to be tough to really dress this set the way, it's going to be basically what the room looked like, but a little bit of additions, right? We're not going to have a lot of time for that kind of stuff. And so, but the most important thing though is how many characters, how many locations, and once you reduce those days, you reduce the price. You can hire a very expensive, really great cinematographer, but just hire them for 6 days instead of 14 even, or even 25, and that makes a huge difference on your cost. But you can still have good quality.
That's good. Okay, that's the move in 2025: efficiency, low cost, in recording films. That's awesome. But I want to pull on your technical background a little bit, because I'd love to hear just your perspective on where you see AI and filmmaking media converging. How do you see that converging together?
Oh man, Sora is crazy. I'm really concerned about deep fakes and
For sure.
what that means for that kind of media, right? We saw the power of cell phones and the teens with a lot of Black Lives Matter type stuff, and just documenting police brutality, documenting these sorts of things. So that form of media, I think all you need is a blockchain solution, but I think it's going to take some really catastrophic thing to happen for us to really focus in on that. And then as far as film production, I'm not optimistic about the future of movies given and jobs in movies. It's a huge reduction that's happening right now. I got, friends in the industry, and it's been a huge, since the pandemic, really, it hasn't really recovered. There was a big strike that happened after the pandemic, and
For
that
sure.
set things back even more, and it hasn't quite recovered. Now you see a lot of consolidation with the big media companies. And so it's hard to predict when AI will create a feature film, or people will use AI to really make a feature film. I think it'll just be a tool for a while. But I think the days of having to use a camera to make a movie are coming to an end. Having to use a camera to make the movie. That is not a thing. I think that's the framing that helps really understand the potency of the shift, right? And so for 100 years plus since the Lumiere brothers, you needed that camera, and that was the big thing, what we're using now. But now, we don't need that anymore. And how will that impact the people who work around the camera, the lighting, the sound, the production? I mean, how will that impact production? And yeah, I think that Tyler Perry was a good example. He pulled out an $800 million investment after he saw Sora 1. And if anybody is a shrewd investor, it's Tyler Perry. You want to talk about, I mean, really, he pioneered what we're talking about with 6-day productions and stuff. His movies are like a NASCAR pit stop. They're like with the actors putting on their clothes, and then scene 8, they're getting the script, and then they're like, all right, and this is episode 10 and action. Then they get like one take, it's awful. He's like, good, okay, move on. And then they go back, and it's like, all right, season 3, same room, same thing. Now you're the president and the Oval, go. And like, I've had actors from those shows talk to us about the life. I mean, this dude is on another level. And I think he's more shrewd, obviously, than me as far as the business. And so for him to pull out, I mean, we're talking like a year maybe plus ago, he pulled out of his studio because of Sora. It was $800 million he was going to put into a studio. He said, I saw Sora 1, and I said, no. Now Sora 2's out. It's crazy. Have you seen Sora 2? The Michael Jackson stuff. Yeah, man. It's
Tupac.
Yeah. And so it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to lead to some reductions in jobs. It's going to lead to a lot more content being put out. But I think it's an exciting future. We're always in the Stone Age and at the bleeding edge at the same time, And so right now is the Stone Age for 2050, right? Right now is the Stone Age for 2035, man, because it's going so fast.
So fast.
Yeah, so fast. And so I think that's the exciting bit. You gotta get back on the horse, man, and ride the wave of whatever's coming. You gotta choose a lane and ride the wave and relish in these exciting times. Learn these new tools or get left behind seems to be the mantra. And so I think that's going to be the biggest thing. People who don't learn how to use it to their advantage are probably going to get left behind.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's moving so fast, and I know that's the truth, right? If you don't use the tools, you can get left behind. Sora will definitely be a big tool that we'll leverage, but to some degree, I feel like consumers will still want like that authentic, I don't know, human on camera. Do you think like we'll go completely rogue on AI? Do you think there'll be a hybrid approach of still keeping just traditional, film and recording and
I think there'd definitely be people who are purists, right? I mean, some people shoot on film still, right, versus digital. I mean, you talk about Nolan and Christopher Nolan, and I think Paul Thomas Anderson just did it with One Battle After Another. Like, I mean, these are purists on shooting on film, like celluloid. I mean, it's so hard. You don't have to get into it, but it's a lot harder to shoot on film. You have versus just on and so you have purists, and so undoubtedly there's going to be purists for a camera, right? As far as the audience taste, I mean, that's anybody's guess, I think, right? Where the audience will go and what they will want. And if they can't tell, what will they think, right? Are there going to be people who continue to focus on making it seamless? Like, once again, we're at the Stone Age, right? And you saw the development of the Will Smith spaghetti eating over the years, right? That's always like this AI benchmark. It's like its own AI benchmark, right? It's like, how good can you make it look like Will Smith is eating spaghetti, right? And that was like a big, like, AI video that was in 2023 or 2022, and it was awful. Like, this is nothing. This will never be anything. And then you look at what in 2025, it's like, that's Will Smith eating spaghetti. That's Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Surreal.
That's not fake. That's not, and he's like, no, that's not me. And he's like, everybody's like, I can tell. You can see with the little, that's going to get ate up too. That little thing that you can't tell or can. And so, yeah, synthetic reality, I think synthetic reality will come to bear upon us. And my guess is that people will try to go back analog. I think the entire digital infrastructure may get challenged by physical reality. At the end of the day, so not just the AI layer of the internet, but I think the whole, like, there's this whole like internet is dead theory, essentially, where it's like everything on the internet is just paid interest in the comments, bots everywhere. Nobody's really real in any of the comments, right? You can't really parse not just what's real and fake in a video, but even in the interaction and the feeling of the internet. And so I think there's a path of isolated doom scrolling, and then there's a path of like connecting back to real life and getting kinetic and like, okay, wait, I am in a city somewhere with a body, and I'm not a digital phenomenon primarily. I'm primarily a physical phenomenon. I think Mark Zuckerberg talked about that, where he's like, people spend their time in the physical world and the digital world, and they're both real. The real world is both to him. That's how he frames it. That's why he made it the company Meta for a while. And so he wants to continue to push people into the digital world. But I don't think digital being is I don't think it fits well with a physical reality. You know, I think it's done harm to our physical reality to be such digital beings. And so I think that's the overall thing for me, is that I hope we'll go back to, you know, the physical world more, where we have to be in real life. We crave seeing people. We crave knowing that the person we're talking to is real. But I mean, you see like AI psychosis happening with young people. I wouldn't let my kid near that thing if I had a kid, right? Like until they're a certain age. That's a dangerous mind bender right there, you know, to like the sycophantic nature of these AI bots and how they impact people's minds and give them psychological advice. I just saw that TikTok was like, China said that they were going to ban TikTok, people from talking on TikTok about certain matters, law, et cetera, economy, et cetera, without a degree in that field. That's on the media TikTok side, right? Then on the flip side, you have like the AI bot side. And should this AI bot be giving you psychological? It's like, well, you see it hallucinate in your own field when you use it. You're like, you don't know what you're talking about, or like, you got that completely messed up. But then you ask it some personal question and you just take it like, well, okay. I got a cousin who's a psychologist. He's like, it's not good. People are coming to me talking about what ChatGPT said about their thing. And it's like, these are not structured in a real breakdown of how we do psychology, you know, even though it sounds right and it feels right, or, you know. And so my hope is that, you know, 2030, 2035, maybe we lean more into real life, less into doom scrolling, less into all that kind of stuff.
I agree. I totally agree. It's crazy world we live in. And a
Is
lot
it
of
crazy?
change fast.
Bro, it's so
Like
fast.
so fast, so fast. I think the dot-com boom was one thing, the Industrial Revolution was one thing, but this is insane.
It
And
is,
like you
man.
said, I think that's where the ethics have to come really strong as well. Children, vulnerable populations, taking time away from the tech, not asking questions that you would ask to a mental health professional. You know, stuff like that. Like I think those etiquettes have to come soon and for people to implement them. But I don't know if people care to.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I think that's part of what I'm trying to do with the institute, to some degree, anyway. Like a civic, you know, the humanities. Like, what were the humanities for at the university? To teach you how to be a human, and education on being human. It's like, well, I got a great math and engineering background, but then my politics or my civic based thing is completely off, or my race thing. I'm just you know, like I'm a very smart racist. I'm a Nazi, right? Like I have all the technological and mathematical input, and I can do blitzkrieg, but also you're vermin, and I'm going to extinguish you, you know? And so like, where but America, especially it being like a country that's not like most European countries, where Germany's all German, French is all France, right? These are like completely ethnic based nation states, whereas America is this melting pot, or you know, that whole idea. And so I think it'll play out here in a profound way. And so I do think we got to get that ethical part right really soon, or else the next round of like, one version of the dystopia that I envision is like another COVID strikes. Say we can't go out. They don't want you to do X, Y, and Z, but this time they got drones outside of your door anytime you try to leave, and they can monitor X amount of people just with that. You know what I'm saying? Something of that degree of like breaking our own liberties, our own personal liberties. And so, yeah, it could, you know, it could be a scary time. You know, there's this quote actually by Frederick Douglass. I just posted it. Maybe it's why I'm like feeling like this way. It's like all your questions, I end up like tailoring them to like some. He's like, "How are your eggs?" And somehow it ends up on like, "And we gotta fight for freedom." Like, wait,
that's natural conversation. Yeah.
like, how was breakfast? You know, pineapple on pizza or nah? You know, and it's like somehow at the end of the day. But I really do like this quote, and I do think it frames how I view some of this. So it's power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. And so I think that really, for me, sums up like power it doesn't concede without a demand. And what people quietly submit to is exactly that measure of injustice, right? And so what will we submit to? Will we let them put the drone outside the door? Will it be too late by the time they want to do it? And so I think technology, media, reality in and of its, like the idea of what we find to be true. I mean, for so long as a species, all that was like, had to build up physically, right? We had a physical reality. And now since 2000, this big digital thing has come down. That's added mobile, and now it's on the go. And then you add, obviously, the AI revolution. So, I mean, it's very exciting times, whether it be exciting just in a positive way or just exciting, but it's always like that. And I think that's the cool thing about being alive, man. It's just like, there's like so many grand missions you can embark on, and like, that's like exciting to me as well. It's like, you still have the adventure of like the pirate or, like I'm going to go across the seas. And like, that was like space travel back then, right? Like, bro, what? Like, I'm going, what? And there's other people on another land and they don't know like the whole history of humanity spreading out. They're just like, who knows how they got there? They're like aliens. I don't know. And so that sense of adventure that was like in those times, I think still exists today, even though we have like the entire earth mapped out. You know what I'm saying? The way we use these tools, the power of these tools. And so, yeah, I think it's really exciting, and I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic at the end of the day, but we must understand what's happening and, I think embark on grand endeavors, embark on a mission, man, have a journey. I think another thing with the doom scrolling and all that, a lot of people apparently are lonely and isolated. I hear this. I don't know how widespread it is, but
yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited about the future. And like you said, it's moving fast and it's only going to get faster. That's a big Ray Kurzweil thing, right? He's like basically, the way he explained it really made sense to me in his book, where it was like, essentially with every round of development of a technology, now that technology can be used to boost everything else forward. So everything you create in, this round can then be used in the next round. And that's like a video game. You're just going to keep getting more and more powerful. And that's why, there's that exponential curve of technological growth.
Okay. With that in mind, how do you see your work having impact on the next generation?
I hope to keep a lot of these institutions alive in the minds of young people, in the minds and hearts of young people. I hope that they aspire for a greatness that doesn't come overnight. And if, they happen to study math, maybe they cling on to that. Or if they study law, they cling on to that. And we understand. My hope is to really leave a lasting awareness of like why these things are important and how people as human beings can see what it means to be human and aspire to maximize the human potential that was given to them, regardless of how that manifests within a certain field, right? It's all like, chaos turned into order. It's all about, taking just the randomness of reality and construing it in a way that's either an art form or like a product or, you know what I mean? Like a great invention or a great song or, those are all forms of order that human beings can bring to the world. Great math. And some of those forms really help us to have better lives. Like you said, we have it so good. Look how comfortable I am. I have a heated house. I probably got like a king from like even like 200 years ago, right? Like somehow or another, prosperity has been disseminated to some degree. It's not equal, obviously. It's not equal, but it's still overall better for, somebody like me probably than it was for, I probably have a more comfortable life than like George Washington,
For sure.
Right.
For
and
sure.
He was like the height of whatever. I mean, obviously he went to war and stuff. So like, that's even more different, but you know what I mean? Just like the daily creature comforts even that you can have in life. And so, and then just like avoidance of pain, I think, and not seeing, tragedy happen in the world and seeing, torture and crazy. Like, how can we go away from that? How can we get towards heaven in a sense, And so to me, it's like, maximizing your human potential and understanding you're human and understanding what it can be to be human. And there's so many exciting ways in these times to, like, kids with despair saying they have no hope. Are you crazy? What? There's
Right.
so
This
much.
time,
There's so much that you could do. Like, and so,
so
you know, the
much.
drones aren't at your door yet. Your potential is endless. You can build rockets. You can, you know, deep sea dive. You can build great products. You can help people's banking go smoother. That'd be awesome, right? Your job doesn't have to be your life's purpose, right? You can focus on your family and focus on the things that make you happy. You can travel to places. So just a better world overall, I think. I'm hoping to somehow instill that through the work that I do. That's kind of like at the base of it all, I guess, what I'm trying to put out. It's like a philosophy expressed through a media.
Love that. That is powerful. That's powerful. And I'm excited to see what you'll do as the years roll on. We will move to a quick game. Quick
Ooh,
game. I know we talked a lot about AI, so this game does have AI influence in it. But the
okay.
game is called Green Light or Pass. Okay.
All right.
So this is like either you green light a certain project or you pass it because it just doesn't make sense.
That's what I do. That's what I do at the studio all day. That's my job.
Oh, there. Yeah. So you know, you get it.
Oh, cool. All
So
right.
an AI generated documentary for storyboarding.
An AI generated documentary for storyboarding?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. It's a documentary about storyboarding, or is a product that builds documentaries, storyboards?
Yeah.
Okay, so a product that builds documentary storyboards.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got this documentary idea and I want to figure it out, but I'm going to go to AI to try to help me storyboard it.
Yeah. 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 Which
Pass.
realistically you could do that on ChatGPT today, but this would be specific to,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right, right,
this
right,
use
right.
case.
Yeah, hard pass, hard pass. A hard
Okay.
pass because
Awesome.
documentaries are so organic. Look at Tiger King. It was not supposed to be Tiger King at first, and then it became that. Documentaries are one of the most awesome forms. It's crazy to be one of those people because they just go on journeys with stories until they formulate into big movies. But anyway, they should be more organic.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay, an ML model that predicts podcast episode engagement.
I mean, yeah. Green light, build it.
Okay. Build it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, a tool that this one is a little this one's a little extra, but a tool that automatically cuts podcasts into cinematic short films. I don't know how I feel about that one.
You don't know how you feel? I like it. I think it's great.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Why are you on the fence? What do you think?
I mean, it goes back to like the authenticity piece, but I could see how it could it could help to elevate authenticity as well, too. In a way. I don't know. I don't know. This
Yeah.
is yours, you know, this is your space. I'm just
I think if you
giving my
record
2
it and
cents.
then it's just editing it for you in a way that is gripping, I think that's great. Like, when they take this
Okay.
podcast we're doing and they put a bunch of like horror music, like, and then the future of, you know what I mean? Like some of these dark topics we talked about, maybe they like put B-roll on top of it or something. I think that'd be great because it's still us.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still authentically us making it, and then it branches out into something that's edited. That's my take.
For sure, for sure. If you could green light any dream project tomorrow, what would it be?
Whoa. I'm going to say a treasure hunting league because that's something I'm developing.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. And
It's a professional
man.
treasure hunting
Yeah.
league. Yeah. And so that's it's a wild pitch, but yeah, I would green like that. I mean, that's really getting people out into real world. But what else? What other products? You know what? If I could green light a product today, it would be one of those, I think it's bromide salt mines, a modular. So they're basically nuclear reactors.
Mhm.
I'm gonna butcher this, man. I should have this down better. But anyway, basically China has built a bunch of them. They basically use like, I think, bromide salt to build nuclear reactors, and they have like amazing power from it. Like, and we want to get power from nuclear in America as well, but we're using the same nuclear that's used for weapons, which if it goes wrong is very dangerous. And apparently we developed this technology, America did, in like the 50s or 60s, and like the military. And they're like, there are 2 paths you can take to build, nuclear. And this one can be a weapon that murders everybody. And they're like, well, we need the weapon. And they just built that. And they're like, yeah, leave that other one behind. And then later the Chinese got a hold of that and they're like, why don't we just build this for like domestic purposes? And they did it in secret. And then eventually we found out, like, after it was almost finished, that they were making it, or at least the public found out. I don't know when our government found out, and now they have these. And so their energy output is crushing ours. I think energy is the single most important factor in the things that we want to do, because the limitation on economic growth, even if GDP is your buddy and you want to just get it all out there and you think that that's going to be our way out of debt as a nation, we need power. We need energy.
We need power.
So we need electrons. And so we just don't have, we're not doing a good job of it at all. It's really embarrassing. Like, it's really embarrassing, like how much of a lead America has and how twisted some of our, just our whole cultural apparatus is. Like, why are we not having more discussions about our power output and what we need to do as a nation, just like as regular, me and KJ and Drake kicking this up? Instead, we might end up talking about Cardi B or something, or like we might end up talking about, some race stuff, or I don't know, man. I just think a lot of it takes us in the wrong direction, and we risk losing as a nation by having our minds and our focus on the wrong stuff. Obviously that's what I think. Made a whole. It's like, we know.
Awesome. So what you mentioned earlier is what we should be watching for you in 2026. The project, I don't want to butcher it. The
National Treasure Hunt?
Hunter, National Treasure Hunting League. So that'll be your headline for 2026. That's your major project
That's a big one. I think a really big one out of film. I have a project with Jamie Lee Curtis and Britt Lower coming out. Yeah. So yeah, finally, right? Finally, like, this is the biggest project in my career. And so that'll be out in 26. My name will be on that. Our company's behind it to a degree. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that. That's called Cinder. It'll be out in 2026 at some point. And so that's Jamie Lee Curtis. That's Britt Lower from Severance. So that's a big feature film that I was a part of. And so that'll be probably a big headline as well. But yeah, check out National Treasure Hunt. Continue to look at National Champions Institute. We're going to start to grow that out as well.
Yeah.
And so I think, those are some of the things to be on the lookout for me in 2026.
Awesome. Well, Andre, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate the great and engaging conversation. I'm blown away, and I really do believe the audience will be blown away as well by this conversation. Like, you really held it down and just really tied together storytelling, AI, science, creativity, humanity. We got into all the things. I really
gotta go somewhere, man. We
time.
gotta hit the real. We gotta hit the real with our time, man. We can't play around.
Yeah,
KJ was always a real one on campus. All right, so that's why he's doing big things. I know you're modest. But like, man, shout out to you, brother. I really appreciate you having me on. Always admire everything you're doing from afar, brother. And I really appreciate you reconnecting and reaching out for this. This is great. And go blue. And yeah, man, we'll be continuing to look out for you as well in 2026. Big things on the horizon, man.
Big things.
We gotta stick together, and we gotta, continue to work. Put the work in and stick together.
For sure. And that's the wrap. Thank you all so much for listening to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. Be sure to subscribe on all social media platforms, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Product Leaders Edge podcast. If this episode gave you a new way to think about product leadership, share it with someone else who's building in the tech space today. You can follow my work on LinkedIn, through my weekly series, Tech Tuesdays with KJ, and subscribe to the newsletter on Substack, which is Solostar by KJG.substack.com. And I'll link all of that into the show notes for you all. But let's continue to build at the intersection of product, cloud, and AI. Until next time, keep building.